Good morning. This is the Creation Care Network for Province 5. Today is January 4th, 2021. My name is Heather Barta. I'm the coordinator of Province 5. Catherine is doing some fun things with her husband. So she asked that I would moderate. And so I am with you this morning. And what is going on right now, sort of from the provincial end, is that most of you know that there was a big provincial gathering that happened in 2019. And that really launched a whole lot of networks, including this network, to start connecting with one another, to provide resources for you. And the goal of the province and all of the networks is to provide the support that people need to do the ministry that they're doing in their parishes and in their dioceses. So this group exists theoretically to help you with whatever it is that you're doing in your local ministries. So this group has been meeting faithfully and regularly for more than a year. And there are some projects being worked on and there are some pieces happening. But the one big thing that would have been happening over the last couple of months and would have launched really big right now is that we would have been preparing for the big provincial gathering 2021 that was going to happen April 30th and May 1st. We know that this is not happening in real life. There will still be a synod, there'll be a meeting on May 1st, but we won't be doing the big gatherings of networks like we anticipated in this year. So Catherine and I were talking about how can this group be useful to you, especially for the first half of 2021. Once we hit the end of 2021, we will then be gearing up for the big provincial gathering 2022. So that'll be the plan, that we'll do something big in 2022. We'll be able to be together again. And we'll be able to do some sort of big networking thing, and each network will be able to determine how they spend their time, but we don't need to plan for that yet. So with check-in today, if you could give your name and your location, maybe something about your ministry, but how can this group, the Creation Care Network of Province 5, be helpful to you in your local ministry settings? And with that, feel free to include how often you'd like to gather. Is monthly working for you, or do we need to go to every other month or every third month? So those are some of the debates that Catherine and I were sort of, we were kicking around some ideas, trying to figure out how we could best be helpful. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a volunteer? Do you want me to?
Let me start simply because I may be stepping out shortly. I got a tractor coming. I'm taking delivery, so they can show up here in a minute. Jerry Capel, I'm a priest in the Diocese of Kentucky, which is actually Province 4, but I have Catherine's role in Province. What she does in Province 5, I do in Province 4. And Episcopal priest there, and I've been working on environmental stuff for years and years and years. I wonder, Heather, if one thing we could consider doing is having a single call between Province 4 and 5 on a monthly basis. And if that would that maybe add a half a dozen people or something, and would that be a helpful thing, or would that dilute something? So that's a question we could ponder. So I'll stop with that.
Thanks.
I'm Susan Adams. I'm from St. Paul's in Beloit. And to break the tension, like nobody else is talking, I was, well, Jerry didn't mention that we're working on the curriculum thing, and I thought that would be very interesting. So I'm anxious to help edit it once he gets done with it. But I'm doing I was going to do a little bit of the introduction. And as far as my own church, I'm not really doing much of anything right now. So.
I'm Greg Greg Schneider, deacon at St. Paul's in Beloit. Again, working on the creation care curriculum. Again, most ministries are shut down because of COVID, and so there's a lot of things there. We are doing several services or things every week that go out on Facebook and YouTube. So we're working with those. I know TJ, our rector, has a podcast that comes out every Sunday evening. And I've got a daily podcast that goes out. So some things there to do that. I had worked with one of the teachers at the high school here who has, we found funds to order hydroponic beds for her classroom and some of the other schools eventually. And this is the beginning of a process where they're going to begin to create growing walls. So there would actually be huge vertical plant stands that would have, hydroponics and plants and things growing in, edible plants that then would be taken and used in the food program in the school. So hopefully we'll have those moving out into all of the school buildings in the next year or so.
That's really cool.
It is.
Do you have a link for that project?
I don't have one from the school system. I'll have to go back and look. And it was actually from a presentation that was on TED Talks that talked about a place that was doing that, and it went built from there.
Awesome.
So besides doing it within the special ed classroom now, the food service added onto that and now has several hydroponic racks that are being used to provide lettuce for food service there, but those are already being in every school building. So we'll begin to have some more of those kinds of things taking place. So.
Awesome. Awesome. Jane.
I'll go next because I wanted to say to Greg immediately that even though we function horizontally rather than vertically, the school garden system that works out here in Mineral Point, Wisconsin, over near the Mississippi, the other side of Wisconsin, from Greg and Susan, that works very well. And it's a long-term process, but congratulations, that's wonderful. And to get the kids to understand that what's growing gets eaten is very important. We're continuing to function without a priest. So leadership, I would say, and I'm not sure what to do about this, and I'm not sure that I can even ask for a resource, but leadership in our parish right now is very difficult. We've had a number of, let's just say, pastoral care issues that have really kind of predominated. One of the things I was supposed to do is to take the work that Catherine Duffy offered to Susan and Greg and me with the engineers that worked on I'm not going to maybe say this right, that worked on providing many church sources for solar panels. There's a term for that. I forgot what it is. And I was supposed to write our bishop and gain permission to do that. We have permission to proceed, but we need to get back to the bishop. Well, of course, we don't have a bishop now either. So I would say that leadership right now is an issue, and I'm trying to decide what my role is. It can't be one person making decisions, having ideas, and generating activity. So, and is that leadership? Yeah. Okay, that's my dilemma. Thank you. Monthly meetings, yeah.
My name is Mike, and I live in Cincinnati, well, north of Cincinnati, Ohio, so the southern end of the Diocese of Southern Ohio. We too are going through a bishop transition. And I want to thank Phoebe and the whole Creation Care movement for supporting I'm a layperson, a big project that has truly, through the pandemic, launched in a very big way the Glean and Share project in Southern Ohio. And we are, thanks to the Episcopal Church and the National Society of St. Andrew out of Virginia, we had a funded position for a job to glean. We had 200 volunteers come over the summer, gleaned at 15 different farms, and delivered farm fresh food to food pantries and homeless shelters and families in need. So here's our dilemma, and it's a question, and this is how I think the province, maybe province 4 and 5, if we can, and my challenge personally is focus. And 2021 is about me focusing more by doing fewer things, hopefully better, does the National Episcopal Church really, really, really want to see the gleaning movement grow in a big way in collaboration with the Society of St. Andrew that's doing gleaning in 15 states at very large scale? So I think I'd like to leave that question for leadership. We have funding. We had funding for Sue for 2020. The Society of St. Andrews stepped up and is providing half the funding for this year. And they've decided to hire Sue full-time in 2022. So the question we have now is, how can we get funding for the other half of Sue's job this year? Our diocese is going through a leadership change. I don't even know who to ask, but I would like to ask maybe for the other half of the Creation Care grant. Anyway, I'm going to stop. I could go on and on. So the question is, does the province want to rally around a handful of ideas, or to, as we've done in the past, I think have a lot of ideas going on and see what happens. So I'll shut up now. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I think that's a great question to sort of take forward. Yeah, Phoebe, did you want to jump in at all on that, or do you want to avoid that question right now?
No, not avoid the question. It's so wonderful to hear, Mike. And I think at a time when a lot of projects have struggled because of COVID, it's wonderful to hear that you all have really been able to get that off the ground. And a lot of aspects of it, doing it outside feels like a wonderful way to move forward. I can't speak to the funding question specifically, Mike, but I would love to follow up with you after this, also about ways that we can spread the word about gleaning, make sure that there are trainings and resources on gleaning for the church. So let's definitely coordinate on that. It's great to see familiar faces, new faces. My name is Phoebe Chatfield, and I work with the Episcopal Church Presiding Bishop's Office as an Associate for Creation Care and Justice, which means I work on creation care work, environmental justice, and then also some of our racial reconciliation work, like the Sacred Ground curriculum that some of you may have heard of or participated in. I have been coming to these meetings on and off for a while. I think for me, I have the capacity to be with you all about once a quarter, but I'm excited to hear updates through the newsletter more frequently than that. I find it so wonderful to hear what all of you are working on and to make sure that there's good communication between this network and other parts of the church. Yeah, that's all I'll say for now.
Hi.
Oh, and I'm based in Richmond, Virginia.
Thanks,
Hello.
Phoebe.
Elliot Bush at St. Stephen's, Columbus, usually, not right now, but just to bring things up to date, the pandemic has shut down all of our creation care programs except the weekly blog that I write for the St. Stephen's website. And I have also started a blogger account for the same, which, just simply copies the St. Stephen's one out to a wider audience. So far, we've got, it's not much, but I've got 11 followers on the St. Stephen's website, which means they read it almost weekly. I've had 93 hits on the blogger website. It's essentially a consolidation blog in which I keep up with about 5 different um, weekly uh, weekly messages from national organizations like GRIST and Tree Hugger and things in New York Times and things that our organizations have put together either weekly or monthly um, newsletters about environmental issues. And then I just pick a theme and do that for every month and refer people to articles that I've found on that theme. When we're coming up to spring, I think Catherine's not around, but we're coming up to spring, and I know she has a great interest in gardening. And so I would hope that we spend some time talking about gardening, which is the gardening issue is the one thing I think there might be a problem with doing it with Province 4 because the growing seasons are so different. And so in Province 5, we'll be talking about gardening season starting on Memorial Day, whereas in Province 4, I don't know when they start growing, but in Florida, I bet they're growing year round. So that's be the one issue. I haven't heard, I'm glad that down in the Cincinnati area, they launched the Gleaners program. I haven't heard anything about that program for the Columbus area, though we certainly could do such a thing. So I'd be interested in knowing more about that. And the other thing that has come to mind in terms of funding for that, I think in Southeast Ohio, in Southern Ohio diocese, that the place to go is to John Johnson, first of all, because he's the one who seems to be running the running the diocese until we get a new bishop. Um, so he'd be the one to go to first to find out, maybe if for nothing else, just to find out who else to go for, where there might be funding.
Thank you for that idea. And Catherine do you go to the same church as Catherine?
No, we
Oh.
go to different churches.
Got it. She was very plugged into the gleaning thing. So there's more to share. Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect. And I know for Southern Ohio people and Milwaukee people do know about half of the diocese in Province 5 are going through some sort of bishop transition piece. So it's a big thing right now. So okay,
I guess
Pam,
I'll go next.
Christopher. Okay, Pam.
I'm Pamela Harris. I'm a member of St. Andrew's Episcopal Church in Valparaiso in the Diocese of Northern Indiana. And the diocese only just recently started its Creation Care Commission. We've had one meeting. And one thing that we decided that it would be important for us to begin concentrating on was to try and instill in our junior and senior high members a love of the environment that goes beyond climate change. We are lucky, we are very close, at least my deanery is very close to the latest national park that is probably amongst the most diverse in the entire national park system. We decided we wanted to concentrate on our young people, much the same way that my daughter did when she was in the Philippines and the Peace Corps, because it was very apparent to her that if real changes were going to happen, they would need to involve the young people because the older members of the community were so set in their ways that it was hard to get the information across to them in a way that they would accept and understand. So we're in the process of coming up with some activities for the diocese to encourage people to do. The dean of our cathedral has been leading hikes out into one of the state parks that's close to South Bend. Unfortunately, with the current situation, it's very difficult for people from the two sides of the diocese to participate in that. But we're hoping that by summer, we will be able to do more things. Another problem that we have is there's a real push for solar energy, but most of our parish churches are old. Their roofs cannot sustain a solar panel. And most of them are in town, even though they're small towns, they probably wouldn't be able to avail themselves of wind. So we're trying to come up with ways to encourage alternative energy use if that is possible. Some means of providing extra grants that would allow parishes, perhaps some funds that would help them to convert if they wish to, might be helpful, but as tight as money is right now, I don't see that as available in the foreseeable future. So as I said, we're just getting started. What I've been trying to do with the National Park Office closed is to set up a group to go on a hike through one of the last peat bogs, at least in our state, if not across that portion of the country that was under ice for so many thousands of years. It is unique, and it has to be any visitation is ranger led in order to prevent any further degradation of that unique environmental location. And I've been there and it is fabulous. So I guess that's what's going on in the Diocese of Northern Indiana.
Thanks, Pam. It's good to have an update. I know that you that Northern Indiana had some things happen, and so great to have that update. Susan did ask, what's the name of the new national park?
The new national park is the Indiana Dunes National Park. It used to be a national lakeshore.
Okay. Yeah, and Elliot, we'll come back around to the Southern Ohio thing. So, Christopher, did you unmute so you could chat?
Yeah, my name is Christopher Beasley. I serve as rector at St. Peter's in Lebanon, Indiana, which is 20 miles northwest of downtown Indianapolis. The ministry we have at St. Peter's, we're on 8 acres of land. And so we partner with the Indiana Black Farmers Cooperative, based out of the Near East Side of Indianapolis, as well as St. Joseph Catholic Church in Lebanon, and then Trinity Lutheran in Lebanon as well, to provide food to those in need in our communities, and especially in Indianapolis, to the food deserts. We wrapped up 2020 with distributing almost 6,800 pounds of food for 2020. We, are very much lay-led. We did receive a grant from the National Task Force in 2020, which helped move that program along. And I'm happy to say that, again, our program has been renewed by all of our ecumenical partners for 2021 with the strong support of our Bishop Jennifer Baskerville-Burrows. So, we're continuing to move forward, and we're going to be able to hire 2 Purdue University interns who are interested in urban agriculture. So they will come and help manage what we call collectively Growing Common Ground Farm during the summer. They will get to experience all the ins and outs of that. So we are looking forward to that new addition as we continue to move forward. And our ultimate goal is to spin this off into 501c3 so that I could be a halftime director of that and then serve my church halftime, which I currently do, and be whole and not wear so many hats right now. But what I look for this group is I love the networking. I love the ideas that come from this, the collaboration from that. And, for me, checking in monthly, continues to work. I think it's the right cadence, kind of gives enough space for things, to grow and develop. So.
Thanks, Christopher. Allison or Rick? I think you're.
Hi, this is the first time I've been to a group gathering for Creation Care. I'm Allison Ricker. I'm at Christ Church in Oberlin, and the Diocese of Ohio has a wonderful bishop who's not going anywhere, I hope, for many, many years, Bishop Hollingsworth. And he is very much interested in teaching children and adults, youth about growing things, and which is why we have Bellwether Farm as a camp and retreat and working farm in our diocese, which is just 10 miles away from Oberlin. I'm going to put a link to Bellwether Farm in the chat because it's such a beautiful resource. And even in the time of COVID, they have been able to do some programming out at Bellwether, inviting people to come and help with harvesting and taking produce home, taking produce to feeding programs at churches. There's a cook-along program at Bellwether where you can, with fresh produce, learn how to produce it in a way, cook it in a way that is delightful. But I was telling Heather, I'm not actually sure how I learned about Creation Care, this particular meeting, and how I got the Zoom link, but it was in my calendar. And I said, oh yes, I want to do that. I just want to see what you're all about. I am most of the time I'm working on carbon dioxide issues. I'm a member of CCL, Citizens Climate Lobby, and the Episcopal team of Citizen Climate Lobby, and also the renewable energy team for the League of Women Voters US. So energy production, energy distribution, and carbon dioxide issues are some of the things that I've been working on.
Awesome, thanks. I do want to give a shout out to Allison. If you were at the big provincial gathering in 2019 and you thought things ran smoothly, her expertise was one of the people of the team working in the background to make that happen. So great to see you on here, Allison. Great to have you around.
Thank you.
Rick.
Thanks, Heather. I'm Rick, and that's located in the Diocese of Northern Michigan in Houghton, which is the far northwest corner of the Upper Peninsula. So speaking of growing seasons, we have a modified growing season up here, as you can surely imagine. I serve on our Canterbury House board, or our Canterbury House ministry that works with college students. And I also fellows in the diocese. You've seen at this meeting, Nancy Auer and Lanny Lanto. Both have been here with Creation Care and with Wild Church. And the discussion around the whole idea of gleaning made me think during this introduction is that might be a ministry that college students at the different campus ministries could be plugged into. It seems like a healthy young back would be helpful in that job. I think students are always looking for a project, and gleaning, I don't know anything about it other than I imagine it's we've got this work to do now, and then there's nothing after that. So that might be something we could connect the two networks. I also serve on the Province 5 board with Heather and others in the province. So I'm glad to be here and glad to hear what everyone has to share. So thank you.
Excellent. Elliot, did you want to go back to just to share the whole?
Well, I'm not sure I have all of the details because I just remember the message that came out from the diocesan office. But we were working in the diocese on with a company that would put solar panels on church roofs, and then the church could use the electricity from it, but the company would take excess electricity and sell it. And from a variety of reasons, the company found that they could not go ahead. From my memory, it was partly that the state of Ohio, because of the influence of the fossil fuel lobby, is not friendly to uh, renewable energy projects. And the other part is that they were uh, perhaps they were looking for federal funding, which they couldn't get. Though they said things could change in the future. So uh, the only option now for churches is to pay for the solar panels themselves.
Yeah. So, question, Elliot?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the group that the three of us, Greg, Susan, and I spoke to, right? We spoke to Catherine Duffy and two engineers, and they at that point did have the federal funding. You're saying that federal funding has dried up. Is that right?
That's what I remembered, though I think the main hurdle is that the laws in Ohio make it difficult to do this.
I understand that, but the concept was great, which was that you get many churches and other organizations to come together to provide a big market for the contractors. And so that, okay, well, I didn't get my work done anyway, so
Yeah, well, so
I have more time now.
So it's not gonna it's not going to happen in Ohio right away, though.
No, well,
A
never
lot
will.
of it depends on this HR 6 bill, which is the bill that favored the nuclear and fossil fuel industries, and it eliminated the goals for renewable energy in Ohio. And that bill, of course, was the one that was passed with a lot of corrupt money. And this whole is now a federal corruption case. But the legislature, for a variety of reasons, has not either repealed that law nor done anything to replace that law, or even to move that law forward, because it's now been sued. The parts of the law that would have benefited the nuclear company has been held up in courts. So some of the replacements have included the renewable energy goals, and some of them have not. And so, we don't know anything about what's happening now. I mean, of course, there always is the option in Ohio, which has been exercised successfully in other things, of having a referendum, citizens referendum on the whole issue. I don't know if there's any groups planning such a referendum to replace HR 6 or not.
But I heard Pamela Harris from Valparaiso, that's Indiana, and I know the three of us in Wisconsin are interested in trying to foment some kind of something. And of course, it's going to take years to get this going, but I do think that I hear, Ohio is still present. You still want that. I hear the beginning of a group. So that's good.
Well, I hope it comes through. I myself am a little bit anxious when anyone says it's going to take years, because I'm not exactly sure we have years.
Well, but it's okay.
So one of the things that this group can be aware of, right, is that there is a group based out of Southern Ohio who has done a lot of work around solar panel pieces. right? So Pam, as you think about solar, know that you have resources. Or if anybody in any of the other states thinks, I wonder what that looks like. There are resources right in our province, close to Province 4, of Southern Ohio. There are some other dioceses who have done this project that we can connect you with also. So do know that those are resources. So if that's a thing, I would like to come back just at least for a couple minutes for Mike, because I think he sort of gave us a challenge. I'm not sure if he meant it that way, but I definitely heard it that way, of how important is gleaning. And I think that I'm not sure that anybody on this call can determine what the Episcopal Church thinks. Even Phoebe cannot declare what the Episcopal Church thinks. And even with Rick and I, we can't determine what Province 5 thinks. But I hear a challenge for, there is this thing that feeds like tons of people. And this whole gleaning project that I know the Society of St. Andrew does really, really well, right? They're the people, am I hearing that right, Mike? They're the group that really sort of coordinates and spearheads things.
Yes, they've been around since the late 1980s. They started small, and now they are kind of a regional dominant player. They're out of Virginia, and their footprint right now goes as far as Indiana and Ohio up into our province. So
Okay.
that would be the collaboration at the national scale or semi-regional scale is with the Society of St. Andrew.
Interesting. So that's a lot of Province 4. So that tells me that there's some avenues there for Province 4, Province 5, perhaps being able to do that. And what I hear is your immediate need is $24,000 for half of Sue's salary. Is that correct?
Yes, for 2021, for the
Okay.
geographic footprint that is basically the Diocese of Southern Ohio.
Okay.
Does she like go and find the farmers that are willing to let you glean? Is that what she does, or what else does she do?
This is our third year. And she now is the Glean and Share coordinator. She does find farmers. She brings three things together: farmers, volunteers, and destinations. She coordinates all those moving parts. And to Rick, your point, the Miami University in Oxford, Ohio has a food farm, 8 acres, and they allowed us to glean weekly for three months. And so Sue is on point for all that. And we took her from being unemployed to having this job in 2020, which was rewarding all by itself.
Yeah.
So farmers, volunteers, and food banks?
Well, it goes beyond food banks. It could be a specific church. It could be we'll call them generally destinations.
Recipients. Okay.
People in need of farm fresh food. Yep.
Is it called Glean and Share?
Yeah.
That's what we're calling this project.
But I mean, is it, I have this website. Is this the correct website?
You sent that just to me. Let me.
Oh, I see. Yes, I did. But I got that through the Church of the Advent in Cincinnati.
Yes,
so there's not only the
Diocese
gleaning, but Sue is also the leader of a community garden in conjunction with the Church of the Advent. Yes. Yes, that's it. That's the link. Yep.
What about other churches that do it? I mean, I have a friend that lives in Washington State, and she had been gleaning years ago, I think, for the Lutherans or with the Lutherans. I mean, we working with other churches?
Yes. At the national level, the Society of St. Andrews appears to be closest to the Methodist Church. However, there's certainly room for, I mean, we had Christians, we had Jews, we had Muslims, we had all faiths come and glean with us.
Good.
Yeah, I was going to say that since I am still an ordained Methodist, a United Methodist pastor, and served for 30 years, the Society of St. Andrew has been very active in the United Methodist Church for all of that time, and they've had various projects, including they used to have one, I don't know if it's there anymore, called the Potato Project,
Yes.
in which they got potato farmers to donate all of their excess potato crops to destinations, as you would put it.
Yes, they have gleaning as a big piece and the potato project is another. Yep. And there's one more, I forget what that is. But I think that's to your point, Heather, the challenge is, does the Episcopal Church want that big connection with the Society of St. Andrew, like with the National Methodist Church or the United Methodist Church? It truly is, I think, a wonderful opportunity.
It sounds like a good conversation. So people on the phone on this meeting right now, is this a conversation that we'd like to explore for Province 5? Jerry, how are you feeling about for Province 4?
Yeah, anything that's already really organized and running and has energy like that, I think would be important to help Province 4 start somewhere.
Okay. Because I think that having the conversation with whomever Phoebe thinks that we should talk to would have some weight behind it, right? If the province can say, hey, this is a thing that we'd like to really take a look at. We'd like to explore how we can more strongly partner with this organization. I know that there's some immediate pieces that Mike needs with some money for Sue's salary for this year. But it sounds like that won't be a pressure point for 2022. So that's astounding that the only thing the Episcopal Church would have to do is sort of show up. And Pam is talking about in the chat that it sounds like you're not quite sure how this might apply in Northern Indiana. But right. I think that would be a great conversation, with the Society of St. Andrew. Like, what does that look like? Where are you going? What kind of farms are you looking for? Sue, like what does that look like? Who are we looking for? What does that look like?
So Sue's boss will be the director of gleaning for the state of Indiana. She is a minister somewhere at one of the churches in Indianapolis that Christopher may know of. So there's a connection point I can pass through as this gets momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Heather, you're totally right that I have no ability to speak for the Episcopal Church, but from the perspective of my department or my work, I think gleaning is an area with a lot of potential, right? Because it weaves together some of our various priorities, creation care, connection to the land, but also things like evangelism, because it's a way to bring people together in an activity, and also justice, of course, as we're thinking about the many injustices within our food system. So I think, I'd be happy to think about who to best connect to, and also to think about specific ways that we could use, my department's position to help uplift these efforts, even if we aren't able to, even if we have to figure out who's best positioned to do this work. So I'm excited about it, and I have a couple ideas brewing that I'll be excited to follow up with.
Thank you all.
That'll be awesome. Okay, good. Mike, anything else that you think this group can help you with today? We could each send you $1,000. I do want to make one note in public for, as this is recorded, when you go looking for the Society of St. Andrew, there is a link in the chat that says endhunger.org. You definitely want to look for the Society of St. Andrew that is different than the Brotherhood of St. Andrew. Brotherhood of St. Andrew is connected with the Episcopal Church in a different way. They're a completely different organization. So make sure that if you're watching this later and you're thinking about, oh, I want to find them, make sure to look for the Society of St. Andrew, endhunger.org.
Thank you.
So good. Sorry, and then anything else, Mike? Okay. I have been excited about gleaning personally. You know, I've been excited about this idea because I think that it is one of those things that a little bit of coordination gets a lot of benefit, right? That you can get a lot of stuff for a little bit of money. So that combination between the people who are doing their local gardens and the gleaning pieces could really make a difference in food availability to our people. So Allison and Pam sort of new to this call. There is a subgroup of this network that has been working on a curriculum that's really been talking about the creation part of becoming beloved community. How do we care? You know, and so when I think about gleaning, I think, you know, Phoebe's talking about evangelism and justice, you know, just really ties in with some of the work that we want to do, especially when we start talking about food deserts, the way that the systems have created shortages on purpose for people. So, okay, how else can I be helpful? See, you didn't get Catherine, so you got me, so you can tell me what you want from Province 5, and I can chat with the board.
I had this thought because I myself have been wanting to watch David Attenborough's new series, and I thought I would do it if I knew that another group of people were looking at it and we were all going to talk about it afterward. I don't know if that is the kind of thing that Creation Care would be interested in doing to promote David Attenborough's new film and
What's the film?
Oh, it's fabulous, Susan.
What's it called?
Perfect Planet.
The Perfect Planet.
And it's available by streaming only.
The what planet?
On Netflix.
Perfect Planet.
Yeah. So the focus of it is how extraordinary it is that we live on this planet that is perfectly arranged to support life, and that we can mess it up pretty badly if we don't take care of it. And so I thought I could do this in my church, get a group of people to look at it, but it would be nice to know that there were a wider group of people who maybe through the film would become convinced that yes, taking care of creation is important, just as important as fighting the coronavirus or whatever else you might be working on.
That sounds like a good idea.
Oh, and you've put the Perfect Planet link in there in the chat. Thank you.
Oh,
yeah, it's probably not the best link, but it's at least a link. Okay.
Unfortunately, there are an awful lot of people in this county and in Lake County anyway, that don't have access to the internet.
Yeah, that is.
And it's not being broadcast over regular TV channels.
Yeah.
Yeah, why is that?
Why is that?
Oh, it's probably the Koch brothers. No,
No, it's because in northern Lake County for sure, and also in much of southern Lake and Porter County, it's very rural. The cable companies have not moved out there. So if it's not available on broadcast TV, it's virtually unavailable. It's one of the problems that people in this area have had to face thanks to the lockdowns. And one of the absolutely most economically devastated parts of the state of Indiana is in northern Lake County.
I was referring more to why it's not on broadcast. I was,
Oh, big,
yeah,
I don't
like,
know why.
why isn't PBS doing it? They didn't do something else either. I can't remember what it was. It was a while ago, but.
Well, apparently everybody is into this streaming business. And in my case, if I want to do any streaming, I got to watch it on my computer, because years ago, my husband and I split our cable input so that the TV goes to the family room and the internet portion goes to his office. So, and then, you know, we have all these people who don't have access to the internet at all. It's a major social issue
It's a
here,
major
and I'm
issue.
sure it's all over the country as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think your friend Rick would be happy to share some other stories of rural northern Michigan.
Yeah.
Yes. So we understand not everybody can. Would we like to do something special where either we all watched it for the next meeting, or that we set up a special discussion time for some evening event, have people watch it and then come together to talk about it? Did I summarize your ask, Allison?
Yeah. And if there's anything that the coronavirus has shown us, it's the social inequality of access to the internet is really having a profound effect on people's lives.
Yes.
Yep.
I think it would be fun to talk about it sometime, whether it's at night or during the day. I've got so many things to do at night, but here I am retired, so I know that if you, it's like, all I do is things at night. I might as well be working at night.
I wonder if so I guess what we're talking about is some kind of special way of watching it, that we're kind of watching it together, or we invite a group of people to watch it together, and then in some way there is a conversation, because that's an added value, right? I mean, anyone can watch something anytime, but to be able to either hear or have a conversation is that lends some weight to something. It's time specific. So we're saying at a given hour and a given day, we do it once. I wonder if an option for that would be a panel conversation. We need some structure. Otherwise, it's just, whoever dominates the conversation. So like you could say, over the period of X amount of days, watch this, and on such and such time, we're going to have a panel discussion. Would that be a kind of way to do it?
That makes sense to me.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty hard to all watch it at the same time.
Yeah, it would take too long.
Yeah.
Do we need a panel, or do we just need a moderator?
You need a discussion leader, right?
Yeah, you need a structure, whatever that is. Yeah.
With maybe they have some questions ahead of time that maybe there's some questions out there that are already done in the discussion guide or something.
Right.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Or get David to join us, David Attenborough,
Here he is.
That'd work.
Sure. Hey, we called up Wilson Dickinson. I'm sure that we can just get David Attenborough. It shouldn't be a problem at all. Allison, did you have any other ideas on how you would like that structured or do that? Did you want to moderate that?
I was just seeing that there are discussion guides for the perfect planet.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so it would be interesting to look at the questions that have already been offered as a way to structure the conversation.
And then perhaps to ask something about how the film inspired them in their work in the Episcopal realm on these issues. I went to a film screening recently, or a virtual one, where someone asked that, and it was quite helpful.
We could
What was
ask
that question again?
How
you want to put it in the chat?
Yeah.
Allison, thoughts on, since you raised the idea, did you want to moderate it? Did you want?
I don't know is that I'm the best qualified person to moderate it, but I could. I wonder if there are plans to bring it to a wider audience, so it's not simply by streaming. I have that.
And it's BBC, so I would expect that it would end up somewhere else at some point.
Yeah.
You kind of don't want it. I mean, you don't want it broadcast, because broadcast is a point in time. I mean, you want it streamed so that people can do it in their own settings, I guess. I mean, I don't see that as a problem. I'm thinking that's actually an advantage, except for those who can't stream.
Right.
Well, that's a big advantage.
That's a big
I think
disadvantage.
that's, yeah.
But if they had it on PBS, I mean, you know,
We'll check the SCAD, but
right. You have to
As far
check the
as I can
schedule.
tell, the streaming services are not going to broadcast.
Ah,
oh, I wouldn't think so either. I don't think that's an option. It's more like, how do we advertise ourselves so that a bunch of folks have an opportunity to say, oh, I'll go along with that. And we can do it across both provinces, see what we get. We could have multiple moderated conversations if that seems to matter, so that it's not just one point in time, it's several.
yeah, you could do a variety of times, so it wasn't always at night.
Right.
Well, do you want to set up one? So the monthly newsletter for Province 5 has not gone out yet. I'm hoping to get it out by end of day tomorrow. Yeah. So do we want to set up a time and see what the response is?
I like that idea.
Yes.
Okay. The Public Theology Network has found Tuesdays work really well. So if you're going to do like an evening or an early evening, they had done all of their pieces in October, like Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. And that worked out really well. Do you like that idea for maybe Tuesday the 19th or Tuesday the 26th?
I think that's a good idea.
Sure.
Grand experiment, iterate. I mean, you know, I guess you just try it and see. There's no, if we're all on it, it'll be a great conversation anyway. That's a dozen people.
Exactly. Anybody have votes on dates?
I think the 26th would be better. It gives people more time to watch.
Okay. So 26. So what I'm hearing is January 26th, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. We'll host a conversation around the perfect planet. People should come having already watched it. And Allison, maybe you and I can touch base here in a couple of minutes to find the discussion guide if there are questions that that people want to ask.
And you'll include the link.
I'll include what I will do is I will require registration. People must register for this event. What that helps with is that helps with reminders. So then Tuesday the 26th, I can send the reminder that says you're registered. Please remember to click this link today.
What time did you say?
6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. your time. California. If you're still in California.
I've always had trouble with 6 p.m.s because it's right at the dinner hour.
Yeah.
Well, I just eat while I'm doing it. I've just given up. I just eat and I don't care.
So we debated, so I'll tell you, we debated times a whole lot in the Public Theology Network. We spent a lot of time debating what is the right time. And why we came up with 6 came from some expertise from the Office of Government Relations of the Episcopal Church, right? Because timing has shifted so that people don't need to go home and eat dinner and then go back to church for the meeting. So if you wait until 7 to host your event, people are already done. They've checked out of their day. They don't go back to the computer they're done. So that was the debate that we sort of had, and that's where it sort of fell out. So that's why I'm sharing in a nutshell where that debate is. We can have that discussion again, and we can do pros and cons of timing, but I just wanted to share that that's where we came down and why we came down in that sort of way. And again, Susan's right, people eat during it, or they grab something quick before, or it's just one of those things of how life has changed now that so many people are living in front of screens like this.
Wow, we've been doing it wrong at the center. We've been running our webinars at 8 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock. No, 8 o'clock Eastern. Too late, you're saying. You need to reconsider.
I don't necessarily think that there's a case to be made. That's why I was willing to open it back up. And there's a case to be made for, no, we want to wait until later, and then people catch us right before bed. So it's the general watching TV time.
Either way, we'll have a successful event, and then we'll decide what to do next. It's really all we got to do is do something half right the first time. And I think that's,
yeah. Okay, thanks, Mike. See you. In the message, I want to point out that Phoebe brought up an Arctic Refuge webinar this Thursday. So that's going to tell us what's been going on with that whole horrible proposal thing.
Yep. And for those of you who might not know, the Episcopal Church has a long history of working with the Gwich'in people and the Diocese of Alaska especially, but other groups as well have been playing an ongoing role in that. So I thought I would provide that as an update.
I appreciate that. Okay, anything else we can do today? Oh, I was so worried about moderating the meeting, I forgot to bring us together in prayer. So sounds like we have some things going on. I'm super excited. Mike has left us for today, but let's continue to pray for Gleaning. And if you have great ideas for money for him, please get in touch with him. If you need his contact information, let me know. And it sounds like we're okay monthly, so we should get back together again in February, see where we're at. Okay, so we'll see you on the 26th, and then again February 1st. So, but you'll get lots of emails from us between now and then. Okay, the Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. Dear God, I am so grateful for the creation that you have given us. I'm grateful for this community that comes together to share ideas, to support one another, to discover new ways of serving your creation. Help us in this time forward to be a light to one another, to share all that you have given us with each other, so that they may see your goodness in the world. Help us be protectors, caretakers, and good stewards. Through Christ we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen.